Hi there, it's Kevin with the Rogue Market here with the update for Friday, with the release date for the Double Masters. Now, I'm expecting prices to fall a ton today, so I want to get this video out there to show where they're at before the supply really hits its critical mass, I guess is what you'd call it, where all the people start opening up their packs. This is when local game stores are officially allowed to release the set, and this is where a lot of people that bought online are going to receive their cards. This is also when big box stores are going to be able to sell those both draft packs as well as the VIP editions as well. I don't know if they have booster boxes at like the Targets, Walmarts, but for sure they have the individually wrapped ones as well as the draft packs as well as the VIPs. So it looks like the VIPs are absolutely crushing the value of Double Masters, that the value is going to be all tied up in these box toppers and a few key cards, and it's cannibalizing the rest of the set, especially in that rare slot that was for cards that were around, I would say, $5 to $15 before the set was reprinted, or low supply rares that were even up into $30 are getting absolutely crushed. And there are actually some goodies here. It's going to lead to a historic time to buy into cards at their low if, I guess this is the $1 million question, if some of these cards are ever able to recover. We're talking like 3 to 4 years potentially, with how much of an impact this is going to have on the secondary market, for the faith of the market, for the long-term stability of the Magic the Gathering singles market. So yeah, it's getting kind of scary. It's even my predictions, my really, really aggressive predictions of cards dropping in value might actually not be enough. I might have been too conservative with my adjusted values here of going off of the 65% of the 2-year low and giving my predictions. So I've added a few more cards in the rare slot. We're not going to focus too much time because it took me 40 minutes to talk about each card individually on last video. We're just going to look at some key cards here, as well as the overall value of what I've got for this set. And then I'm going to link this. A lot of people have been begging me to link the 2XM update spreadsheet I've been doing. It's not automated. This is just something that I manually input. I'm sure there's a way to automate this stuff. I am not a programmer, so bear with me as my pen and paper type spreadsheet going down these things. So a couple of things, the cards that are holding well is Mana Crypt and Force of Will. Force of Will is faring a lot better than what I thought it would, but I did say that I think Force of Will is going to be one of those cards that's going to just stubbornly hold on to its value. And like I said in the comment section, or the comment portion of this sheets, is many investors will pick up this card as they think it's going to be a great place to sink money, and the demand will never be able, the real demand, the people who actually want this for decks, is not going to be able to outstretch the supply of cards that are in investors who eventually have to resell this card. That's what they're buying this card for. It's not a collector, it's not a player. They're buying it because they think it's going to go up. They're going to stubbornly hope that it goes up, and then they're just going to slowly trickle these back into the market. That's what I'm thinking is going to happen. We saw that with like Jace in the past, as well as like Tarmogoyfs with the first major reprinting of these cards, that there was a huge buying spree of this card when it did go. Because look, 130 versus what it's going for 84 now. That looks like a bargain. That's $50 I can make if I pick up Force of Wills and they go back to their pre-reprinted price. So they're going to pick these up. They're thinking they're going to make $50, and then the real world's going to hit them. And they're like, well, Force of Will went down $2 last week. I'm going to throw another one. I'm just going to sell out here. I'll take a loss here. I'll cut my losses and put them up. I think that's what's going to happen with Force of Will, and it's slowly going to start to decline in price. And I think that the big winner out of this set is going to be Mana Crypt. I think it's the one that's going to easily be able to recover as well as hold its price. It's actually faring worse than I thought it would do about this point. I thought this bottom is going to be 85. Of course, we have a long ways to go. Maybe it'll actually be closer to that 2-year low of 72. A couple of the other ones that are now below the 2-year low is things like Mox Opal. Jace the Mind Sculptor is really getting close to that 2-year low, 65% of that 2-year low. And we have, Doubling Season is still faring well as well. And Chrome Mox is actually surprisingly faring well. Blightsteel Colossus, even though it's lost 50% of its value, has not come close to what I think is going to be where it settles off. So there's kind of a little update. Again, you can go and look at my work. I'll have the link in the description below. Something I have added is a lot of more rares. I added every rare that's currently over $2. And so here you go. All the cards not listed here are now under $2. There are some goodies in this mix. I need to do a video of scraping the barrel and picking up cards that potentially could go up in price just based on the demand. Mainly, you're going to anchor this to EDH Rec. So EDH Rec is going to be your buddy for investing in cards. And if any of these cards are under the $2 mark and do see, the problem with EDH Rec is you got to go by the number here. Don't go by the ranking here. The ranking is very misleading, like this 13% of all decks of particular color combination. This is good when like a new commander comes out and you can see like, oh, this color combination usually uses this a lot. That's good for those type of specs with new commanders. But you just want the sheer number rather than the percentage of decks, because these have a lot more flexibility to go in more cards if they're like an artifact or a land. And of course, solo color cards are more flexible. So according to EDH Rec, this is the cards that actually do see the most play in various decks. Mana Crypt, of course, would be much higher if people could actually afford it. Same thing with probably Force of Will. But currently, right now, Cyclonic Rift is the most played card that's been reprinted. And so therefore, it'll probably have the best chance of not only holding its value, but being able to recover after this reprint. It was a card that got absolutely crushed after Modern Masters 3, but it is a card that did continue to go up in value, I mean, indefinitely after that. It never even had a slump. We have other things like Brainstorm. It's a common, been printed a lot. But even like cards like Lightning Greaves, if this card gets low enough, that's a very, very prime target. I'm not liking like Path to Exile because there's still like a lot of Gideon Spellbook, and I believe it's also Mystery. So there's a lot of supply here. But there will be some goodies in here if they do. The price point does make sense. Blasphemous Axe, even Merciless Eviction, Avenger of Zendikar, Wrath of God, Toxic Deluge, Austere Command. These are type of cards you absolutely should have on your radar that they go underneath these price points. They should be pickups. And that's what I'll be transitioning this sheet into. I'll be giving more comment sections. You can see that this is mainly blank for the rares about where I think the price point is for buys of this particular card. But that's really the $1,000,000 question. I don't know. There are so many factors going on right now in the Magic the Gathering market that I don't even know where the low is. This is just unprecedented supply that's been forced upon us, and we don't know when the supply is going to end. There is more supply than anyone even thought of, and there are still many, I mean, this is before the drafts. This is before, like I said, the big box stores really get their hand on things. If they don't sell well at the big box store, this is going to be something that's going to be injected 2 months down the road back into the distribution supply, and then stores are going to get these. And it's going to be a long time before this set begins to settle down. And like I said, what we're seeing right now is the big cards, the Force of Will, alternate arts, the Mana Crypts, these high-end stuff are cannibalizing all of the value in this set. So if we come over here and take a look at Dawnglare, Dawnglare has the set at 270. Look at that drop. So a day ago, we were up to the 320s. At the start of this, we're up to 400. It's lost $130 since the start of this week of the Double Masters. I'm assuming that this is non-toppers. So you will get some, of course, value with the toppers. However, yeah, and that's where most of the value is. However, look at this approach, actually, the Ultimate Masters. So it almost looks like Ultimate Masters is going to be the better buy. Other than that, still, crashing in value because a lot of the value from Ultimate Masters was reprinted in Double Masters. That was kind of the tone I've been saying this entire time with Double Masters, is there are so many cards from Masters 25, Ultimate Masters, Mystery Booster Boxes, Jumpstart, Battle Bond. All these things were very recent in the scope of things. Many of those, if they were still standard sets, would still be in rotation, like Ultimate Masters. Many of those that would be Pioneer would be recent Pioneer decks in the scope of things. We're talking like Amonkhet Forward with many of those things, Battle Bonds, A25, Iconic Masters. That is very, very recent in the scope of things for Magic the Gathering. So this was what I've been saying this entire time. Too soon and too much of cards. And I guess what's coming true with what I was talking about, you could put anything in this set and these prices would be crushed. And I think that's actually what's not going for these cards right here, is when you put Force of Wills and Mana Crypts, these things can't hold value. So you can see some massive, massive decreases in some of these cards. Like look at Risk the Redeemed. $31 card before it was reprinted is now $3 because of the double reprinting of this in Mystery Booster Boxes and now in the Double Masters. We see some things like the lands, which I do want to talk about. These lands are not created equal. There were 3 lands that missed A25, but their price point's like holding close to the ones that were printed in A25. So I believe it's Mystic Gate, Sunken Ruins, and the red-green one. the red, green, Firelit Thicket. These are ones that's why they have the higher price tags than their counterparts, like the Graven Cairns versus Firelit Thicket. This sucker dodged the Eternal Masters. This one did not, and I guess that's why it's worth double the most. And I actually agree with that because it has double the supply, the Graven Cairns. But these I think are actually pretty good pickups long term, like the lands. And again, I'm not going to go too much into deep detail of what cards I like. Again, this is just more looking at the prices rather than looking at potential specs. Now, that's the question. When do we buy? Again, I don't know. I don't know. I know a lot of you come to me for my supposed expertise. I do like to say that I've been in this business for a long time. I started a store by flipping cards. That's how we got the equity to actually start a local game store. So this was something I had to know inside out. And I've been around in the business as far as competing on the highest level of Magic the Gathering and kind of traveling with vendors that sold cards. And this has always been a hobby of mine. So I hope my advice here can be considered professional, but even me as someone that's been in this industry has absolutely no clue where the bottom of this set is going to go, and it's just even went past my expectations, my very aggressive expectations of where these cards are going to settle. But yeah, you can definitely come and look through these here and see some of these cards are just not faring well. With now Wound Reflection, a card that I said be crushed, is absolutely being crushed now, being down to $5. Sword of the Meek down to $2. Look at that huge $9 to $2 decrease. Hammer is from 30 to 7. We have cards that are like the $13 cards like Council's Judgment going down to 3. This is not a good sign. Ad Nauseam down to 7. Academy Runes now down to 8. Austere Command down to 4. And Austere Command we saw on EDH Rec was one of the most played cards. Again, this is something that you should definitely be keeping your eye on with Austere Command to see if it's investable. And when that time is, I would say let it flatten, let it flatten, let it flatten, let it flatten. And when you start to see supply starting to move in the overall scheme of things, so a lot of times you go to TCG Player, you'll have, like, let's just take a look at Austere Command here. Click on it here and kind of look at the supply. If TCG Player wants to cooperate, it's been slow for the past couple days, of course, with people listing cards and buying cards. I guess we'll check back in when, come on, you can do it, TCG Player. We'll have to check back in on it when it loads. There we go. You can see the full supply of so 19. So this is where I like to anchor. A lot of times you can just click 4 or more and it can give you a better idea. And then you can kind of calculate the amount of pages. So this is saying at results per page 10, there's 30 pages of cards have been listed, and the first real supply of cards is having this at $384 with $1 shipping, so it's about $4 of the card if you buy this in multiple, is where we're anchoring this price on. So when you start to see this supply start to decrease, and not necessarily even the supply or the price decrease or increase, just the supply decrease at that price point, that's probably the time to start making the move. Of course, you should be scooping up on any sort of deals on these things. If you ever see like a card that's 50% of the value of something, like someone posts $1 card for Austere Command, that's probably a pretty reasonable time to pick up. So I don't know how much more this set has to lose. Of course, my number has just been changed a lot since last time here. So we've got some metrics over here in the right-hand column. So the total pre-value of all the cards now that I've entered in with these rares was $2,400. The average mythic is now down to $20. And the total percent of the current price versus the previous price is now 44.7%. Now, someone did the math on one of my videos, and I had this set decreasing 38% with my total projected, or maybe it was 35%, and got a comment like I'm absolutely, bonkers crazy. Well, it's looking pretty fair now. 44 to 35 isn't that much more to go. That's only 9% more before we actually do hit where this set is going to decrease. So we're talking about a whopping 65% of all the value being just obliterated by the reprinting of Ultimate Masters. All right, so the total two-year value low was 1,549. So that put the 65% of the 2-year low at $1,045. Well, the total current is $1,070.50. So we're almost at that 65% of the 2-year low. A lot of you have asked where that number came from. It was just looking at things like Ultimate Masters, A25, and Iconic Masters and coming up with a fair number of where cards get crushed after they're reprinted. And so they don't go down 65% of their current price. They usually go down much more than even 50%. A good rule of thumb is they usually go down about 65% of their 2-year low, because a lot of these cards had 2 years to start accruing value. Wizards used to do reprints on like a 2-year interval. If they hadn't seen reprinted in 2 years, they were prime targets for another reprint. But they've kind of thrown that out with just the disconnect between teams is what I'm thinking what happened mainly with the mystery booster boxes and the double masters having very similar cards that they reprinted in these sets. All right, so I've got the total projected of all the cards that I've keyed in here with my predictions at 820. So again, that has a little bit of room to fall in price. Like we said, the Dawn Glare EV currently is $270. That means the average box that you open is going to be around $270, not including the box topper. I'm thinking not including the box topper with that. So we'll keep really an eye on this number, and it'll be very interesting to see where this set is going to fall. So I'm going to share this link with everyone. You're more than likely to look it over. If there's any errors on here, feel free to comment in the comment section. And I'll keep trying to update this with the additional notes. I'll start color coding some of these rares, but there is going to be some historic buys here. I'm even liking cards like Voice Resurgence. That could even go even lower. I've got it going down to $2, maybe underneath that. Maybe if they go under these prices, that might be the time to pick up these particular cards. But I'm thinking I was too conservative on many of these. We could see $10 Stoneforge Mystics. We could see $10 Noble Hierarchs. We could see, dollar rares for many of these things, like even lands, like Isochron Scepters. These could get crushed so hard. The other metric that is absolutely going to get crushed here is the foils. So foil uncommons. So we can go to, let's see, Rarity Uncommon. These suckers are going to get absolutely crushed. Is Goldfish having a tough time with my metrics? Okay, whatever, Goldfish. We're going to come back here. And it's these particular cards I've talked about, the foil versions, just absolutely getting crushed because of the double masters. All right. Slots. So the VIP slots for uncommons. Okay, it doesn't have the commons actually listed right now on some of these. Maybe they're down here, but you can see there's very little spread between the two already with uncommons, because you got to just do a simple math equation here. Every VIP has 10% of all the foils in it. If there are 80 commons in double masters, so we got 80 uncommons, and 8 of those are foils in VIP. So you get 8 foil uncommons and 8 commons. So the uncommon foils are actually more common than common foils in this set because of the VIPs. And what that's going to cause is these uncommons just to hit a much higher supply than they normally should be if it was just like the foils in packs that happened. And we've seen that happen with Collector's Edition, that we're probably going to see like no spread between the normals. So foil multiplier is at 4.75 with the foil version from the double masters, but this is something that I'm expecting just to continue to go down. Let's just, for the sake of it, look at like Basalt Monolith and seeing where they're going with foil. Let's take off this 4 more, and they're up down to $1.21 with just the other ones, and click on the foil. It's down to 7 right now. So yeah, there's definitely some room to fall with stuff like this, these Basalt Monoliths. I clicked on this one because Basalt Monolith's just a heavily played card in Commander, and so the foil should have a huge foil multiplier, but I think this is just going to absolutely get crushed. And there are many of these other ones that are going to continue to go down in value just because of that slot from the VIPs being so high for those uncommon cards. So again, this is going to have a unprecedented opportune time to get into some of these cards that hit their absolute historic lows from the supply of double masters. So $1 million questions is, can Shamanic Revelation and Terracodon type cards recover? I've seen Terracodons at 16 cents, and I really need to fill a cart full of these suckers, because at that point I could break even just, the casual, like making Commander decks out of these bulk rare cards. Those actually have a pretty good market at my store, like just putting together powerful cards for a $10 Commander. It is a very labor intensive, but you can make your own versions of $10, $15 Commanders and the casuals eat them up, especially when you have your touch on them. And yeah, so many cards here I think are going to be absolute great buys. You can get in is it Charms like 5 cents? I'm expecting that to happen. And this is a card that sees heavy play in Pioneer. Give it 2 years. If it doesn't see a reprint, who knows? Who knows what can happen? There needs to be some stuff with Magic the Gathering, though. We need a recovery in organized play and competitive play. We need them to stop screwing up sets like Theros and Ikoria, and really dumb down the non-interactive type cards they've printed, like Fires of Invention, Wilderness Reclamation, a lot of these, Winota type I win button cards. I think these are always detract people from playing. And the problem with these, they squeeze out design. They squeeze out like cards that are playable in formats. And so I want to see more mid-range standard sets and metas happen. And I want to see, the good thing with Commander is just the more things that get printed, the more people out to build Commander decks. And a person had 10 Commander decks last year and they have 20 Commander decks next year. So, those type of cards get eaten up. But as far as the competitive cards, I'd like to see some massive changes and some resurgence in Modern and Pioneer before I'm really going to get away from my cold feet of investing in those formats. So really what I think you should look at is 10-cent Shamanic Revelations, maybe in the foils being, I know this has been printed a ton of times. Maybe that's a bad example, but some of these cards that typically do see a lot of play in Commander, Greater Good. That's another one I saw for like $1.50 yesterday, a bunch of copies of that. Phyrexian Metamorph for the double reprinting, as well as having the box topper versions from the VIP packs is going to crush the price. If you can get in like $1 Phyrexian Metamorphs, that's probably a pretty safe long-term investment. Even like Ash Barons being crushed, those are another things that could easily be recovered because of how much they do see play. All right, I hope you enjoyed this video. Again, I'll link this in the description below. Feel free to let me know what you think about it. Trash it all you want with this. Maybe there's a better spreadsheet out there than what I am taking, what I'm doing with this pen and paper. If you know a way to automate this, maybe that could be something as well. Like I said, I'm not a programmer. This is just like a pen and paper version for me. Anyway, this has been Kevin with the Rogue Market. Thanks for watching.